Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Renuka RS with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister inaugurates multi-story flats for members of Parliament, says construction of many buildings started during NDA government completed before schedule. Economic reforms to continue to make India a hotspot of global investment, says Finance Minister. Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba chairs a meeting of National Crisis Management Committee to review status of impending cyclone in Bay of Bengal. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.68%, more than 85 lakh recover so far. Former Chief Minister of Assam Tarun Gogoi passes away. And 27 e-Lok Adalats dispose of 2.51 lakh cases from June to October this year. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said construction of many buildings that were started during NDA government are being completed before the scheduled time. Virtually inaugurating the multi-storied flats for members of Parliament this morning, Mr. Modi said decades of problems and not by avoiding them but by facing them and finding solutions.
सांसदों के लिए पिछले साल नॉर्थ एवेन्यू के घर बनकर तैयार हुए थे और आज बीडी रोड पर भी ये 3 टावर आवंटन के लिए तैयार है। मेरी कामना है कि गंगा, यमुना और सरस्वती इन 3 टावरों का संगम इसमें रहने वाले जनप्रतिनिधियों को हमेशा स्वस्थ रखे, कार्यरत रखे और संतोषी बनाए।
He stated that Ambedkar International Centre was built by his government after a long wait of 23 years. The Prime Minister pointed out that there were many such projects in Delhi which were incomplete for many years. He said the new building of the Central Information Commission was constructed during the present NDA government. The Prime Minister said Parliament proceedings continued even during the pandemic with new regulations and several precautionary measures. He said both houses worked taking turns even on weekends. He also said that every party helped in the smooth proceeding of Parliament in the monsoon session. Mr. Modi said the 16th Lok Sabha passed 15% more bills than the last. In the first session of the 17th Lok Sabha, 135% more work was done. Rajya Sabha also delivered 100% efficiency. He said this performance is the highest in 2 decades. The Prime Minister said Parliament proceedings continued even during the pandemic with new regulations and several precautionary measures.
कोरोना काल में अनेक प्रकार की सावधानियों के बीच नई व्यवस्थाओं के साथ संसद का सत्र चला। पक्ष और विपक्ष के सभी साथियों ने एक पल का सदुपयोग किया। दोनों सदनों द्वारा बारी बारी से काम करना हो या फिर शनिवार और रविवार को भी कार्यवाही करना, हर किसी ने सहयोग किया, सभी दलों ने सहयोग किया।
Saying that the age of 16 to 18 years is very important for the youth, Mr. Modi pointed out that they have completed the term of the 16th Lok Sabha with the 2019 elections, and this period has been historically significant for the progress and development of the country. Our correspondent reports these multi-storied flats for members of Parliament are located at Dr. B.D. Marg in New Delhi. 8 old bungalows, which were more than 80 years old, have been redeveloped to construct 76 flats. The construction of these flats have been completed with savings of about 14% from the sanction cost and without time overrun despite the impact of COVID-19. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the momentum of economic reforms will continue to make India a hotspot of global investment. Addressing a conference organized by CII, Ms. Sitharaman said Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government has not lost any opportunity to take deep reforms at this time of pandemic. She said the Prime Minister also undertook those kind of reforms which have not seen the light of the day over the decades.
We have been taking absolutely strong reform-related measures. The reduction in corporate tax in September 2019 to be the lowest as much as possible compared with very many developed economies or emerging economies. 15% and with nothing else added to it. Taxation, corporate rate being 15%, the lowest I would think anywhere in the world. And also for the existing companies, saying that they can come down to the level of 22%, clearly showing that our intent is to show immediate benefit for the MNCs and any large companies or small companies which would want to open shop and start producing, opening up newer areas.
The Finance Minister said several more active reforms-related steps are being taken up to ensure that the reform momentum continues even during the pandemic.
Not to reject India's role in global trading community. Not to reject India's role in the manufacturing story, which actually should be, like the way you have said very clearly, that India should become a major investment hotspot. And for that, we have to make sure that we get everything right.
She said the financial sector is being professionalized and the government will continue with disinvestment.
Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba today chaired a meeting of the National Crisis Management Committee, NCMC, to review the status of impending cyclone with the Chief Secretaries of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry through video conferencing. The Chief Secretaries of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry briefed the NCMC about their preparedness. They mentioned that the authorities are fully prepared to meet any eventuality. They also informed about the coordination with the NDRF and other agencies to meet this challenge. India Meteorological Department Director General Dr. Mrityunjay Mohapatra made a presentation on the present situation and mentioned that the status is being shared with the concerned state governments. He said the impending cyclone is going to affect coastal areas of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry in coming 3 days. Mr. Gauba said, "We are all aiming at zero loss of life and early restoration of normalcy in the affected areas." He mentioned that the advisories to fishermen not to go into the sea should be strictly implemented. Cabinet Secretary emphasized that people living in kacha houses may be advised suitably according to the situation. Secretaries of different departments and senior officials from the Ministry of Defence also informed the NCMC about the arrangements and assistance to the concerned states. Meanwhile, the depression over the southwest Bay of Bengal is observed to be moving northwestwards at a speed of 11 km per hour for the past 6 hours. The Met Department says the weather system is 560 km southeast of Chennai and 520 km southeast of Puducherry. It is very likely to intensify into a cyclonic storm in the next 24 hours and assume the name Nivar. Subsequently, it is set to intensify further into a severe cyclone and cross the coast between Karaikal and Mamallapuram near Chennai on Wednesday afternoon. During its landfall, the cyclone is set to trigger the wind speed of 100 to 110 km an hour, gushing to 120 km per hour. The Met Department has said in its latest bulletin, extremely heavy rainfall is likely to at isolated places over the Delta region and Ariyalur in Tamil Nadu and Karaikal in Puducherry tomorrow. Chennai and its adjoining districts and central Tamil Nadu are set to get heavy to very heavy rainfall under the impact of weather phenomenon. On Wednesday, the day of the cyclone's landfall, extremely heavy rainfall is likely to occur at isolated places in 8 districts, including in the Delta region and the North Interior districts in Tamil Nadu and neighbouring Puducherry. Heavy to very heavy rain is expected in 13 other districts, including Chennai and its adjoining areas. Isolated heavy rainfall is likely in 4 of northwestern districts. Fishermen have been asked not to venture into the sea during the period due to rough weather. More from our correspondent.
The Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary Shanmugam briefed the Union Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba and the members of the National Crisis Management Committee about the preparedness of the government to mitigate the effects of the potential cyclone. He later spoke to the collectors of all the districts that fall under the vicinity of the cyclone. 6 teams of the NDRF are positioned in Kadalur district and 2 in Chennai on standby to assist the administrations whenever required. The Southern Railway has either fully or partially cancelled several daily special trains crossing the vulnerable district tomorrow and day after tomorrow as a precautionary measure. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In Andhra Pradesh, under the influence of low pressure over southwest Bay of Bengal and adjoining areas, light to moderate rains are very likely to occur today at few places over south coastal and Rayalaseema and at one or two places over north coastal region. S. Stella, Head Meteorological Centre, Amravati, told AIR that light to moderate rains are likely to occur tomorrow at few places of coastal Andhra Pradesh and Rayalaseema, with heavy rains at one or two places over Nellore and Chittoor districts.
It is very likely to intensify into a cyclonic storm, Nivar, during the next 24 hours. It's very likely to move northwestwards and cross Tamil Nadu and Puducherry coast between Karaikal and Mahabalipuram around 25th November afternoon. Under its influence, today, light to moderate rains are very likely to occur at few places over south coastal Andhra Pradesh and Rayalaseema and at one or two places over north coastal Andhra Pradesh. Tomorrow, light to moderate rains are very likely to occur at few places of coastal Andhra Pradesh and Rayalaseema with heavy rains at one or two places over Nellore and Chittoor districts.
Minister of Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari today said government aims at creating core global competencies in India by facilitating seamless integration of the automotive industry with the world. He said government is trying to create an ecosystem to accelerate the uptake of electric vehicles in the country. He was addressing a virtual conference. The minister asked the auto industry to come together to work jointly towards achieving broader national agenda of reducing pollution. Mr. Gadkari also elaborated a number of steps that government has taken to promote electric vehicles, which include reduction in GST to 5%. He also said government is planning to set up at least one electric vehicle charging kiosk at around 69,000 petrol pumps across the country to induce people to go for electric mobility. A 5-day session of the Bihar Assembly began today. The session will continue till November 27th. This is the first session after the Assembly elections in the state. All newly elected MLAs were tested for COVID-19 in view of the pandemic. Out of 243 newly elected members, 190 were administered oath by the Pro Tem Speaker Jitan Ram Manjhi. Remaining members will take oath tomorrow. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, who is a member of Legislative Council, was not present during the oath ceremony. Deputy Chief Minister Tarkishore Prasad took oath first. Later, the second Deputy Chief Minister Renu Devi took oath. Among ministers, Vijay Kumar Chaudhary was the first minister who took oath. Besides opposition leader Tejaswi Yadav, leader of CPI-ML Mehboob Alam also took oath. New Assembly Speaker will be elected on the 25th of November.
India and the European Union today held the 6th round of consultations on disarmament and non-proliferation matters in a virtual format. The consultations involved exchanges on developments in the area of nuclear, chemical, biological disarmament and non-proliferation, conventional weapons, outer space security issues, export control regimes, strategic stability environment and other developments of mutual interest. The consultations aim at enhancing mutual understanding and appreciation between India and the EU on international security issues. These are part of the broad dialogue architecture with the EU as a key strategic partner of India. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla today briefed a select group of heads of missions on the planned terrorist attack in Nagrota district in Jammu and the implications of the incident on security, diplomacy and the battle against terrorism. Terrorist attack was foiled on 19th of this month by the security forces. Sources said this is the first of several briefings to be conducted by Ministry of External Affairs in small groups in view of COVID-19 situation. Other secretaries will also be briefing heads of mission in their areas of jurisdiction. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister inaugurates multi-story flats for members of Parliament. Says construction of many buildings started during the NDA government completed before schedule. Economic reforms to continue to make India a hotspot of global investment, says Finance Minister. Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba chairs a meeting of National Crisis Management Committee to review the status of impending cyclone in Bay of Bengal. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.68%, more than 85 lakh recovered so far. Former Chief Minister of Assam, Tarun Gogoi, passes away, and 27 E-Lok Adalat dispose of 2.51 lakh cases from June to October this year. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो के
Former Chief Minister of Assam, Tarun Gogoi, passed away this evening in Guwahati. He was undergoing treatment for the past few days in Guwahati Medical College and Hospital following post-COVID-19 complications. He was 86. Born in 1934, Mr. Gogoi served as the Chief Minister of Assam from 2001 to 2016. He is the longest-serving Chief Minister of the state. Prior to becoming Chief Minister, Tarun Gogoi served as Union Minister. He represented Jorhat and Kaliabad constituencies in Lok Sabha. Mr. Gogoi also served in various capacities in the Congress Party. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have condoled the death of former Assam Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi. In a message, Mr. Kovind said the country has lost a veteran leader with rich political and administrative experience. Mr. Kovind said Tarun Gogoi's long tenure in office was a period of epochal change in Assam. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has expressed grief over the death of former Assam Chief Minister and Union Minister Tarun Gogoi. In a tweet, Mr. Naidu said that in his long public life, Tarun Gogoi has faithfully served the people of the nation and the state in various capacities. Mr. Naidu said his contribution to public service will always be remembered respectfully. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a message, said Tarun Gogoi was a popular leader and a veteran administrator who had years of political experience in Assam as well as in the centre. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi said Tarun Gogoi has devoted his life to bringing all the people and communities of Assam together. Assam Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal, his ministerial colleagues, leaders of various political parties also condole the demise of Tarun Gogoi. State Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said that the mortal remains of Mr. Gogoi will be kept at Sankar Dev Kalakshetra in Guwahati. Assam government has announced a 3-day state mourning in honour of the former Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi.
Home Minister Amit Shah today dedicated the COVID-19 mobile RT-PCR lab to the people of Delhi at a function held at the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, New Delhi. In a tweet, Mr. Shah said, the mobile RT-PCR lab has been jointly developed by the ICMR and Spice Health. He said the central government is committed to contain the spread of COVID-19 in Delhi, and this lab will surely help in early detection and cure. The state-of-the-art mobile testing lab has the capacity of conducting 3,000 COVID-19 tests per day. The result of the test will be known within 6 hours. The first such mobile testing van will be deployed in Azadpur Mandi of the national capital. The Home Ministry, in a statement, said that these tests will be offered at the rate of 499 rupees and the cost of testing will be borne by the ICMR. This initiative is a step in making COVID-19 testing affordable and more accessible to the common people. The test report would be available within 6 to 8 hours from the time of sample collection compared to the average 24 to 48 hours taken by similar test reports.
Nearly 8,50,000 COVID samples were tested in the country in the last 24 hours. With this, the cumulative testing figure has reached nearly 13 crore 26 lakh mark. The central government and ICMR have scaled up the testing infrastructure in a calibrated manner. India's testing capacity has touched 15 lakh per day, ensuring easily accessible COVID-19 tests for all. Health Ministry has said that very high levels of testing lead to early identification, prompt isolation and effective treatment of COVID-19 cases. It said this also leads to low fatality rate. Starting from just one testing lab at the National Institute of Virology, Pune in January this year, the country today has 2,129 labs for testing COVID samples, which includes 1,164 government and 965 private labs. India has leaped across another significant milestone in its fight against COVID. With recovery of more than 85 lakh people so far, the national recovery rate has improved to 93.68%. With overall recovery of nearly 85 lakh 62,000 patients, the recovered cases in the country stand at nearly 20 times the number of active cases. Over 41,000 patients recovered and were discharged in the last 24 hours, whereas the new confirmed cases reported in the same time span stood at nearly 44,000. The active caseload of the country has also fallen below 5%. The total active cases in the country today stand at 4,43,486, which comprise merely 4.85% of the total reported cases. The Health Ministry has informed that 26 states and union territories in the country have reported less than even 20,000 active cases. It said the enhanced countrywide medical infrastructure, implementation of the centre's standard treatment protocol by the states and union territories, and total dedication and commitment of doctors, paramedics and frontline workers have led to a persistent increase in the number of total recoveries in the country. The Health Ministry has said that this has also led to a commensurate dip in the fatality rate, which stands at 1.46%. It informed that 511 case fatalities were reported in the past 24 hours.
The Supreme Court today asked Delhi, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Assam governments to file status reports on the current COVID-19 situation in their respective states and preparedness to deal with the surge of cases in the coming months. A bench headed by Justice Ashok Bhushan also pulled up the state governments over the worsening COVID-19 situation and asked all the states to file status reports detailing steps they have taken, steps intended to be taken and the help needed from the centre to combat the situation. The bench asked the Delhi government about steps taken to combat the spike of COVID and wanted to know about the present situation. The bench also observed that in the month of November, there was a spike of COVID-19 cases in Delhi, Maharashtra and Gujarat. It also noted Solicitor General Tushar Mehta's submission that the Union Home Minister has taken specific steps with regard to the COVID-19 situation in Delhi. The bench, which was hearing a suo motu case pertaining to the management of COVID-19 crisis and mishandling of dead bodies, posted the matter for further hearing on Friday. Maharashtra government today issued new set of SOPs for persons travelling to the state by air, trains or road with effect from 25th of this month. According to the latest order, domestic travellers, whether by air or train coming from Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Goa to Maharashtra, will require a COVID negative report. Air travellers will need to get the COVID test done within 72 hours of their flight, and train passengers should get the test within 96 hours of their arrival in Maharashtra. More in this report.
According to the Standard Operating Procedure (SOP) to prevent the spread of COVID in Maharashtra, all domestic passengers travelling from airports, railway and by road from Delhi NCR, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Goa shall carry RT-PCR negative test report with them before starting their journey. The state government has asked the concerned authorities to check for the report before allowing the passengers to begin the journey. The SOP also stated that passengers not having the RT-PCR test reports fulfilling conditions shall compulsorily undergo RT-PCR test at the concerned airports or railway stations at their own cost. Only after undertaking the test, the passengers will be allowed to go home by the concerned authorities. With Nivedita, this is Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
A central team arrived in Manipur today to study the rising cases of COVID-19 and fatality rate. The expert team is led by Dr. L. Swati Charan, Additional DDG of Directorate General of Health Services. The expert team held a meeting with the officials of State Health Department at Imphal and reviewed the pandemic situation in the state. Kerala continues to report more recoveries than positive cases. 3,757 new cases of COVID were confirmed today, while 5,425 people recovered from the infection in the state. The total active COVID cases in Kerala reduced to 64,166. Meanwhile, 22 recent deaths were also confirmed due to COVID today, taking the death toll in the state to 2,071. In view of sharp rise in COVID-19 cases, the Himachal Pradesh government has decided to shut all educational institutions in the state till 31st of December. Our correspondent reports that the state government has also decided to impose night curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in 4 districts. More from our correspondent.
The decision to close all educational institutions till 31st December has been taken in a state cabinet meeting in Shimla today. The cabinet has also decided to impose night curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in 4 districts, that is Shimla, Mandi, Kangra and Kullu from November 24 to December 15. However, online studies would commence from coming 26th November. The state government has also decided that all social, political, cultural, sports, etc. gatherings in open areas would be restricted to 200 persons with social distancing. Cabinet has also decided that a fine of rupees 1,000 would be imposed for not wearing a face mask in public places. Sanjeev Sundariyal, AIR News, Shimla.
In Uttar Pradesh, universities and degree colleges reopened today across the state, but very few students reached campus on Thursday. College and university administration have started to prepare the roster for the classes, which will be attended by 50% students. More from our correspondent.
Some students were excited to visit their campus after a long time, while few were worried about the recent surge in the spread of corona, but everyone was taking all the necessary precautions decided by the government. Attendance was quite low and hardly 10 to 25% students reached for classes on first day. In Pilibhit, Mau, Kannauj, Mathura and Chitrakoot districts, attendance was around 10 to 15%, while in districts like Hapur, Kaushambi and Muzaffarnagar, students were excited to attend the classes and around 25% of the total registered students reached their campus on first day. In Janta Vedic and Digambar Jain colleges in Badaut of Bagpat district, around 800 students arrived for classes against the strength of more than 5,500 students. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In the United States, a new study published by the University of Colorado Boulder and Harvard University researchers claim that frequent and rapid testing could eliminate COVID-19 spread within weeks. Researchers said that frequency of testing is far more important than sensitivity in curbing the coronavirus spread. The study got published in the journal Sciences Advances. The lead author, Daniel Larimore, an assistant professor of computer science at CU Boulder, said it would be better to have a less sensitive test with results today than a more sensitive one with results tomorrow. Larimore added that rather than telling everyone to stay at home, only the contagious people may be issued stay-at-home orders so that everyone else can go about their lives.
27 e-Lok Adalats were organized in 15 states, leading to disposal of 2.51 lakh cases from June to October this year. Over 12,686 cases were disposed of during this month so far, resulting in settlement of 107.4 crore rupees through e-Lok Adalat. Legal services authorities creatively adapted to the new normal and moved Lok Adalats to the virtual platform. From June to October 2020, 4.83 lakh cases were taken up and 2.51 lakh cases disposed of, resulting in settlement of 1,409 crore rupees. To facilitate access to justice amid the constraint placed by COVID-19 and various public health guidelines, the legal services authorities have ingeniously integrated technology into conventional methods of justice delivery. e-Lok Adalats are also cost-effective as it eliminates the need for organizational expenses. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. In Jammu, lower level of temperature will be 12 degrees Celsius, while upper level will be 20 degrees. The city will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. In Leh, generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature will be -5 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 1 degree. Gilgit will experience a light snow with temperature hovering between -1 degree Celsius to 8 degrees. Muzaffarabad is likely to have thunderstorm with rain. The temperature will move from 4 to 14 degrees Celsius. The national capital will have fog or mist in the morning and partly cloudy sky later with temperature varying between 7 and 25 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Temperature will vary between 20 and 31 degrees Celsius. Chennai to have generally cloudy sky with light rain and the temperature will hover between 24 and 31 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky. The city will observe minimum temperature of 16 degrees while maximum of 28. Srinagar will have rain or snow. Temperature will hover between 1 degree Celsius and 6 degrees. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 10 and 23 degrees Celsius. Sky will be partly cloudy with possibility of development of thunder lightning. Chandigarh will have generally cloudy sky. The temperature is likely to move from 13 to 22 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, the minimum temperature will be 20 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 30 degrees. The city will have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Ahmedabad will witness a clear sky. The minimum temperature will be 16 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be 32 degrees.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister inaugurates multi-story flats for members of Parliament, says construction of many buildings started during NDA government completed before schedule. Economic reforms to continue to make India a hotspot of global investment, says Finance Minister. Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba chairs a meeting of National Crisis Management Committee to review status of impending cyclone in Bay of Bengal. COVID-19 recovery rate improves to 93.68%, more than 85 lakh recover so far. Former Chief Minister of Assam Tarun Gogoi passes away. And 27 e-Lok Adalats dispose of 2.51 lakh cases from June to October this year. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website, newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.